In today's video, we're examining 5 shocking cases where criminals met their end by dangerous animals, from an art thief who entered a tiger's den to a kidnapper who attracted ancient predators in the Everglades. But first, we begin in South Africa, where a rhino poacher's greed led him into a hungry lion pride's territory. It was September 2016, in a remote southern sector of a major South African wildlife reserve. The early morning air hung thick with humidity as the African sun began its ascent over the vast savanna. In the distance, the Crocodile River meandered through the terrain, its banks lined with dense vegetation that served as perfect cover for the park's apex predators. Faraji Tembe, a 34-year-old from Mozambique, had breached the perimeter fence overnight through a damaged section long exploited by organized poaching networks. Tembe was no ordinary trespasser. He was a seasoned rhino poacher with over a decade of experience in the illegal wildlife trade. His criminal record included multiple arrests for wildlife trafficking and armed robbery across southern Africa. Known for his methodical approach and ruthless efficiency, Tembe had temporarily separated from his accomplices to locate the wounded animal before first light, a common tactic used to reduce detection during recovery. That morning, Tembe was tracking a wounded white rhino he had shot the previous evening. The massive animal had escaped into the thick bush, taking with it a horn worth over $50,000 on the black market. Unknown to him, park rangers had flagged the gunshot reports from the previous night and would later prioritize a ground patrol sweep of the sector, with aerial surveillance considered if spoor or a carcass was located. The tracking had proven more difficult than anticipated. Fresh lion tracks crisscrossed the rhino's blood trail, and vultures circled overhead, indicating recent predator activity in the vicinity. Radio chatter from the ranger station had referenced recent lion activity near the waterhole system, but Tembe remained focused solely on his valuable quarry. The African lion is among the continent's most formidable predators, with large males weighing over 400 pounds and jaws powerful enough to crush bone. These apex hunters are most active during the cooler hours of dawn and dusk, when they patrol their territories and hunt for prey. Lions are highly territorial animals, particularly when protecting their pride and cubs from perceived threats. As Tembe followed the rhino's blood trail through tall grass, he unknowingly entered the core territory of a pride consisting of 1 dominant male and 3 adult females. The pride had been feeding on a recent kill near a waterhole, their heightened alertness triggered by the scent of blood and the presence of an intruder. At approximately 6:15 a.m., Tembe finally located the fallen rhino in a clearing surrounded by dense brush. The massive animal had succumbed to its wounds during the night. Tembe approached cautiously, rifle in hand, scanning the area for threats. Satisfied that he was alone, he slung his rifle across his shoulder and pulled out his mobile phone to document his prize, a common practice among poachers who needed proof for buyers in the illegal wildlife trade network. Tembe positioned himself near the rhino's head, angling his phone to capture both the animal and himself in frame. He pressed record and began filming, narrating details about the horn's size and quality in Portuguese as he panned the camera across the rhino's body. His narration was cut short by a guttural snarl from behind. Tembe spun around, phone still recording in his hand, just as a lioness erupted from the tall grass at close range. The sudden charge knocked Tembe backward over the rhino's body, his rifle clattering out of reach. The phone flew from his hand, landing several feet away in the grass, briefly stopping after impact, breaking its screen. As Tembe fell, another lioness lunged forward amid the chaos, biting into his lower body and pinning him as he struggled to regain footing. The dominant male, a fully grown adult weighing well over 350 pounds, rushed in to secure Tembe's upper body. With Tembe disoriented and unable to reach his rifle, the lions escalated rapidly, responding to the intrusion within their core territory. One lioness maintained her grip on Tembe's lower body as the male delivered repeated bites to the neck and upper torso. Tembe's screams echoed across the savannah before being abruptly silenced. The phone, partially obscured in the grass roughly 10 feet away, continued recording fragmented audio and intermittent, obstructed visuals of movement. The attack unfolded over several minutes before active aggression subsided, with the lions remaining nearby in the surrounding brush. One lioness locked onto Tembe's legs while the dominant male clamped down across his shoulders and chest, applying lethal force. The attack was over within minutes, ending when Tembe succumbed to massive trauma and blood loss. The pride withdrew into the surrounding brush shortly after the incident. Park rangers located the scene during a routine patrol sweep prompted by earlier gunshot reports. Among the evidence recovered was Tembe's mobile phone, its battery nearly depleted, but the memory card intact after being partially shielded by grass and soil. The footage, cracked, partially obscured, and missing its final moments, corroborated the circumstances of Tembe's death and assisted investigators in confirming his identity. The investigation revealed Tembe's extensive criminal history and connected him to multiple rhino poaching incidents across the region. His death sparked mixed reactions, with public opinion sharply divided among conservation advocates familiar with the damage caused by wildlife trafficking. The footage remains sealed as evidence, used solely to reconstruct the incident and support ongoing anti-poaching operations, with park officials concerned that it was too graphic for public release. While Tembe met his end in the jaws of lions, another criminal would soon face an equally terrifying fate in the humid jungles of Central America. It was February 14, 2016, at a private estate outside Las Vegas, Nevada. The desert landscape stretched beyond the compound's high walls, dotted with Joshua trees and rocky outcroppings glowing amber in the pre-dawn darkness. The estate belonged to a reclusive billionaire collector who maintained a privately owned exotic animal enclosure operating under Nevada state exemptions and limited federal oversight. Security lighting cast long shadows across the gardens, while motion sensors monitored every entrance. Tessa James, a 28-year-old international art thief from Romania, had spent months planning this heist. Her criminal record spanned 3 continents, with successful thefts from museums and private collections worth millions. James was known for her meticulous preparation and ability to bypass sophisticated security systems. She specialized in targeting impossible heists that other criminals wouldn't attempt, driven by both greed and an obsession with proving her superiority over law enforcement. Her partner, Tim Slaw, a 31-year-old electronics specialist, waited in a van outside the perimeter. Slaw had successfully disabled the estate's alarm systems and provided James with detailed blueprints of the building layout. However, the architectural plans Slaw relied on were outdated renovation schematics, a mistake that would prove fatal. The facility map showed the art gallery adjacent to what appeared to be a sealed utility structure, but the space had since been converted into part of the owner's private wildlife facility. James planned to access what she believed was a maintenance hatch leading into the gallery's service corridor, steal 3 specific paintings worth over $10 million, and escape before dawn security rounds began. The collector was traveling abroad, leaving only minimal overnight staff. James wore a helmet-mounted camera to document the theft for potential buyers. The Siberian tiger is the largest living cat species, with adult males commonly weighing between 400 and 550 pounds and measuring over 10 feet in length. These apex predators possess incredible strength, capable of dragging prey twice their body weight over considerable distances. Adult tigers are highly territorial and solitary by nature, typically housed separately in captivity, except during controlled breeding situations. In captivity, tigers retain all their predatory instincts and can become highly aggressive when startled or cornered. At 5:15 a.m., James successfully breached what she believed was a maintenance hatch into the gallery's service corridor. Instead, she dropped into what she believed was a sealed service corridor, landing inside a restricted interior zone of the enclosure housing a single large adult male tiger. The facility's infrared cameras captured her landing on the sandy substrate as the massive cat immediately oriented toward the unexpected intrusion. Alarmed motion sensors detected the breach, triggering silent alerts to the security monitoring station. James's helmet camera recorded distorted her perspective as she realized her mistake. The 480-pound male tiger emerged from his resting area and began stalking toward her with focused intensity. The tiger displayed typical hunting behavior, lowering his body and moving with deliberate, calculated steps. James retreated against the enclosure wall and deployed pepper spray from her equipment belt. The spray caused only a momentary flinch, failing to disrupt the tiger's advance. The male tiger charged with explosive speed, covering the 15-foot distance in under a second. The impact knocked James to the ground as 480 pounds of muscle and bone collided with her body. The tiger delivered a crushing bite along the side of her neck, crushing soft tissue and major blood vessels along the side of her neck. The initial bite caused catastrophic trauma to the neck region, resulting in rapid loss of consciousness. The tiger maintained his grip, pinning James's body with his massive forelimbs. Within moments, James lost consciousness due to massive vascular trauma and neurological shock. The tiger maintained his grip until movement ceased. Security footage later showed the animal remaining in contact with the body until staff intervention. After approximately 12 to 15 minutes, delayed by the size of the estate, nighttime staffing levels, and containment procedures, facility staff completed emergency protocols and responded to the breach alert. Following established emergency procedures, they approached the secondary access point while maintaining visual contact through surveillance feeds, using air horns and discharged fire extinguishers to create noise, visual disruption, and cold bursts of CO2. They managed to separate the tiger from James's body and secure him in the adjacent holding area, but she had already succumbed to her injuries. The investigation revealed James's extensive criminal background and her connection to an international art theft ring. The helmet camera footage was taken in for investigation, and it provided clear evidence of the break-in attempt and the circumstances leading to her death. Her partner, Slaw, was arrested attempting to flee the scene and later convicted on multiple charges related to the heist. The video was retained strictly for investigative review and legal proceedings, never broadcast or released beyond law enforcement channels. Following a formal investigation, authorities found no criminal liability on the part of the estate owner, citing compliance with containment standards, signage requirements, and security protocols. While James met her end in a controlled environment where human error proved deadly, another criminal would soon discover that the ocean's depths hold far more dangerous predators. It was September 28, 2017, off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, where crystal-clear waters stretched endlessly toward the horizon. The afternoon sun blazed overhead as a 32-foot fishing vessel floated approximately 2 miles from shore, positioned near the edge of the Gulf Stream, where the water dropped sharply into several hundred feet of open ocean. Seabirds circled overhead, drawn by the scent of chum dispersed in the area throughout the morning. Leo Morgan, a 29-year-old forensic accountant from Chicago, had made a fatal error in judgment. For 18 months, Morgan had been systematically embezzling funds from his employer, a crime family with extensive operations across the Midwest. His background in financial analysis had made him invaluable to the organization's money laundering operations, but greed had corrupted his judgment. Morgan believed his intelligence would protect him when he decided to steal $2 million and flee to the Caribbean. The meeting had been arranged by Marco Ruiz, a 36-year-old enforcer known for his methodical approach. Ruiz was accompanied by Saul Ortega, a 41-year-old boat operator who specialized in offshore operations. Both men had extensive experience in making problems disappear permanently. They had chosen this location specifically because of its reputation for large predatory fish, the depth of the surrounding waters, and the strong current that would disperse evidence quickly. Morgan had agreed to the offshore meeting, believing he could negotiate his way out of trouble using the stolen money and incriminating financial records as leverage. The vessel was equipped with a stern-facing navigation camera that operators routinely left running during offshore transits. Tiger sharks are among the ocean's most formidable predators, with large females commonly reaching 12 to 15 feet in length and weighing well over 1,000 pounds. These apex hunters possess powerful jaws and serrated teeth capable of slicing through muscle and bone, with serrated teeth designed to slice through bone and cartilage with devastating efficiency. They can detect trace amounts of blood in the water from considerable distances, especially when strong currents carry the scent through their hunting grounds. The negotiation lasted approximately 15 minutes before Ruiz and Ortega revealed their true intentions. At 3:20 p.m., they shot Morgan twice in both legs. The wounds were inflicted to immobilize him without causing immediate death. Morgan was pushed overboard into the warm Caribbean waters. The blood from Morgan's leg wounds began dispersing immediately, creating a crimson cloud that expanded rapidly in the clear water. The strong Gulf Stream current carried the blood signature through the area, mixing with the residual chum trail that had been in the water since morning. The stern camera captured only surface turbulence and intermittent splashing consistent with a violent struggle despite his injuries, while dark shapes became visible beneath the surface as the blood plume spread through the current. Shortly after Morgan entered the water, later estimated to be under 2 minutes, the first tiger shark appeared, a massive individual measuring approximately 14 feet in length. The predator approached from the depths below, following the blood trail with methodical precision. After briefly contacting him in what appeared to be exploratory behavior, the shark's movement pattern shifted as it confirmed Morgan as wounded and vulnerable. The first strike came from below with explosive force. The shark's powerful jaws clamped down on Morgan's upper thigh, the serrated teeth crushing through muscle and bone. The initial bite caused catastrophic leg trauma and massive blood loss, intensifying the scent signal in the water. Soon after, a second large shark silhouette emerged at the edge of visibility, drawn in by the expanding blood plume carried through the current. This shark attacked Morgan's opposite leg independently, striking with the same devastating efficiency. As the water continued to churn, additional shark movement became visible beneath the surface, though individual attacks were no longer clearly distinguishable. The sharks struck in sequence rather than simultaneously, each predator making its own assessment and attack based on the blood in the water. Surface disturbance was visible on the vessel's stern camera as violent thrashing erupted near the boat. Each bite removed substantial amounts of tissue. The attacks continued in overlapping waves as individual sharks circled, struck, and retreated before returning for subsequent bites. The stern camera captured intermittent surface movement and violent splashing consistent with a struggle. After several more minutes of surface disturbance, shark activity gradually diminished as the blood plume dispersed into the current. The investigation into Morgan's disappearance was complicated by the offshore location and lack of physical evidence. His rental car was later discovered abandoned near a small private dock in South Florida, leading authorities to suspect foul play. The crime family's involvement was never proven, though Morgan's financial crimes were eventually uncovered. Morgan's family received no closure as his body was never recovered from the shark-infested waters. Officials stated the video material served evidentiary purposes but was unsuitable for public dissemination. While Morgan's fate was sealed by his criminal associations, another story was unfolding in remote Alaska. Sophie Walsh would soon discover that some locations harbor dangers no security system can stop. It was August 19th, 2018, along a remote tributary of the Susitna River in Alaska, where towering spruce trees lined the gravel banks and the sound of rushing water echoed through the wilderness. The late summer air carried the distinct smell of spawning salmon, their silver bodies creating ripples across the shallow rapids. Bare tracks crisscrossed the muddy shoreline around an abandoned fish camp. Sophie Walsh, a 26-year-old cybercrime facilitator involved in identity theft, had chosen this isolated location for reasons far removed from fishing. For 3 years, Walsh had played a central role in a sophisticated identity theft network, facilitating millions of dollars in fraudulent activity. Her reclusive nature led her to establish this remote compound as her operations nerve center, with hardened networking equipment and encrypted data storage, powered intermittently by diesel generators. Walsh lived alone at the facility, over 20 miles from the nearest neighbor. Access was only by bush plane or a treacherous trail impassable during winter. Her paranoid nature led her to install motion-triggered security cameras around the perimeter. The timing could not have been worse. Late August marked the peak salmon run, attracting unusually high concentrations of brown bears and creating fierce competition competition for feeding locations. Walsh had been warned by her bush pilot about increased bear activity, but dismissed the danger. Brown bears are among North America's most powerful predators, with adult males weighing up to 800 pounds. During salmon runs, they enter a state of hyperphagic feeding that makes them highly defensive of food sources. Their sense of smell is among the most powerful of any land mammal. At 4:45 a.m., Walsh emerged from her server building to move a portable generator. The motion-activated security camera captured her stepping onto the wooden loading dock. Unknown to Walsh, a 600-pound male brown bear had been feeding on salmon carcasses less than 60 yards upstream and had been drawn closer by lingering food odors and the presence of a human near an active feeding area. The bear emerged from willows along the riverbank. Security footage showed Walsh bending over the generator when the massive predator charged from the shadows, closing the distance in just a few seconds. The initial impact was devastating. The bear's massive paw struck Walsh's left shoulder with crushing force, causing catastrophic injuries to her shoulder and upper torso. Walsh was thrown sideways onto the dock, her skull striking the planks with a sickening crack that caused immediate traumatic brain injury. What began as a defensive attack rapidly escalated. The bear, already in a heightened state of food aggression due to intense salmon run competition, did not retreat. Instead, the bear's defensive behavior escalated into opportunistic feeding once the victim was incapacitated. The security camera captured the bear's powerful jaws clamping down on Walsh's skull, with a bite force capable of crushing bone, causing catastrophic cranial trauma. The bear then used its massive claws to rake across her torso, opening deep gashes that exposed muscle and bone. The bear did not disengage, and instead began feeding opportunistically once Walsh was incapacitated. For an extended period, the bear remained in the immediate area. The footage showed the animal tearing away chunks of flesh from Walsh's shoulder, back, and upper torso. At one point, the bear dragged the body approximately 30 feet toward the tree line before resuming feeding. The attack was discovered when Walsh failed to respond to scheduled communications with her criminal network. Her automated systems continued operating for 3 days before prolonged inactivity and financial irregularities eventually drew the attention of federal investigators. Alaska state troopers arrived by helicopter to find the compound abandoned except for Walsh's partially consumed remains. Investigators recovered the primary security camera that captured the attack. More remarkably, they found Walsh's personal backup camera, a small action camera in a reinforced chest pocket, among the scattered remains. The camera's reinforced housing was cracked and partially crushed. The SD card was recovered intact. Only brief still frames were reviewed internally to confirm timelines and animal involvement, with officials emphasizing that the content was too disturbing for citizens. The recovered footage provided crucial evidence that helped authorities understand both the circumstances of Walsh's death and the scope of her illegal activities, leading to the shutdown of multiple identity theft operations across North America. The department later located and lethally removed the bear due to confirmed involvement with human remains. Necropsy revealed human tissue in the bear's digestive system, confirming its role in Walsh's death. Many viewed Walsh's death as a consequence of her isolation and criminal lifestyle. Her paranoia had placed her directly in harm's way during one of the most dangerous times to be in bear country. The security measures she installed to protect her criminal operation became the primary evidence in both her death investigation and the subsequent prosecution of her network. While Walsh met her end in Alaska's unforgiving wilderness, Max Kelly was about to discover that even in the seemingly controlled waters of the Florida Everglades, nature's most ancient predators still ruled supreme. It was July 22, 2016, in a remote interior slough several miles south of the Tamiami Trail within the Florida Everglades, where cypress trees draped in Spanish moss created a canopy over dark, tannin-stained waters. The midday sun beat down mercilessly, pushing air temperatures into the mid-90s and driving the heat index well past 105 degrees and creating a humid atmosphere thick with the sounds of cicadas and distant bird calls. Alligator slides marked the muddy banks, while eyeshine had been spotted glinting from the water's surface the previous evening. Max Kelly, a 31-year-old construction worker from Miami, had arrived at this isolated location with a purpose far removed from recreation. For the past 4 years, Kelly had operated a sophisticated sophisticated kidnapping ring across the southeastern United States, targeting wealthy families and demanding ransoms that often exceeded $1 million. His latest victim, an 8-year-old child from a prominent Tampa family, had been murdered when the ransom exchange went wrong, leaving Kelly with evidence that needed to disappear permanently. Kelly was accompanied by his wife Erin, 29, and brother Sean, 33, both integral members of his criminal organization. The trio had rented a John boat from a local outfitter, despite warnings about entering the backwater areas during summer months when alligator nesting activity reached its peak. The family had developed a systematic approach to evidence disposal, always choosing remote locations where they believed remains would never be recovered. Sean had mounted a small action camera on the boat's bow, while Kelly wore a waterproof chest-mounted camera as insurance against potential legal complications. They had used similar disposal methods successfully in other states, but had never operated in an environment as dangerous as the Everglades during peak summer. American alligators are among the most formidable predators in North America, with large males occasionally exceeding 11 to 12 feet in length and weighing between 500 and 800 pounds. These ancient reptiles possess one of the strongest bite forces in the animal kingdom, capable of crushing bone and maintaining an inescapable grip on large prey. During summer months, territorial behavior intensifies as males defend nesting areas. Alligators are opportunistic ambush predators that respond primarily to vibrations, movement, and close-range scent cues. At approximately noon, Kelly waded into the murky water wearing chest-high waders and carrying weighted bags containing his victims' remains. His plan was to sink the evidence in what he believed was the deepest part of the channel, underestimating the sudden depth shifts common in Everglades sloughs. The bags had developed small tears during transport, creating a faint but detectable blood trail. Unknown to Kelly, a massive territorial male alligator estimated to exceed 12 feet in length had been patrolling this section of the slough, drawn by sustained water disturbance, vibration, and irregular movement created by Kelly wading through the channel. Kelly's chest camera captured his perspective as he moved deeper, while the bow camera recorded a single V-shaped wake approaching from his left side. As Kelly reached chest-deep water and turned to signal his accomplices, the massive bull alligator struck without warning. The reptile's jaws clamped down on Kelly's left thigh with devastating force, the impact clearly visible on both recording devices. The alligator immediately initiated its signature death roll, spinning Kelly underwater repeatedly while maintaining its crushing grip on his upper leg. Kelly's chest waders tore and flooded unevenly, creating severe drag and restricting leg movement, effectively eliminating any chance of escape. The spinning motion disoriented Kelly while causing catastrophic trauma to major blood vessels and surrounding tissue in the upper leg. The alligator's teeth punctured deep into muscle and bone, creating catastrophic blood loss. Within 90 seconds, Kelly lost consciousness due to catastrophic blood loss, combined with repeated submersion. Kelly's chest camera continued recording underwater as the alligator maintained its hold and executed several more death rolls. The drowning process was rapid. Kelly inhaled water during one of the violent rotations while unconscious, and his body went limp approximately 2 to 3 minutes after the initial strike. The alligator dragged Kelly's body to deeper water and wedged it beneath a submerged log. One additional alligator briefly approached during the initial attack, but quickly retreated when the dominant male displayed aggressive posturing. The bow camera captured the violent surface disturbance before the water returned to calm. Erin and Sean fled immediately, abandoning the boat and camera equipment. They drove directly to a safe house in Tampa, believing they had eliminated all evidence. Park rangers discovered the abandoned John boat the following morning, partially grounded near a public access channel. Investigators recovered waterproof action cameras, whose sealed memory cards preserved footage from the incident. Dive teams recovered Kelly's remains 4 days later from the submerged cache site. Evidence of post-mortem scavenging by multiple alligators was present, but forensic analysis confirmed the cause of death as drowning and exsanguination from the initial attack. The investigation revealed Kelly's extensive criminal network and led to the conviction of both surviving family members on federal kidnapping and murder charges. The video evidence was used exclusively during prosecution and sentencing, remaining sealed from public view following the conclusion of the trial. Thanks for watching. Want to see more? Click on your screen now.